Hello, and welcome to the Unstoppable Joy podcast. I'm your host, Kathryn Currie, and today we're going to talk about the Mended Heart. So I hope you're ready. Pull up a chair, grab your favorite beverage, and let's get started. Shortly after I was married, we found out that we were expecting, and we were so excited. It seemed a bit soon. How can you not be excited about a baby? So my husband and I were very much into the Word, and we decided to pick out a scripture for our baby. And when we picked out his name, we prayed about it, and we wanted to name him Keenan Ansel, which means, Keenan means fighter, and Ansel is angel or God's divine protection. And to go with that name, with our baby that was to be born, we chose Psalm 91, which is all about God's divine protection. And so we were very excited, and things went well with the pregnancy, and then Keenan was born, and we brought him home from the hospital, and he started having all these weird symptoms. He was panting a lot, which babies can pant, but he seemed to be panting a lot, and he developed a very wet cough. And at the first week checkup, the doctor said she heard a heart murmur, but babies can have heart murmurs as things are adjusting in their heart after leaving the womb. But she said, it's probably nothing, but let's just check it out. We got an appointment for an ultrasound of his heart, but it didn't happen for another week. And in the meantime, again, these weird symptoms, we'd lay Keenan down on his side, and his eye would swell up on that side, and then we'd put him down, and that swelling would go down if we put him on the other side. And I just kept on calling the doctor, and they just kept passing me off as a nervous first-time mom. So by the time that we got in for his ultrasound, it had been 2 weeks since he was born, and the technician that was doing the ultrasound, the echocardiogram, called in the pediatric cardiologist from home, and they were looking over his echo and talking very calmly to me and saying he's got a coarctation, which his aortic arch was actually narrow, and some kids can wait to have that repaired. And so the cardiologist was very calmly talking to me, and again, they almost discharged us from the hospital. And the technician said to the cardiologist, "Have you looked at him?" She was nudging him, the cardiologist, to take a look at Keenan. And so we turned the lights up in the room, and yeah, he didn't look so good. He looked blue. So she very calmly said, we're going to admit him, and we'll see what we can do to correct this sooner than later. And I think she was trying not to alarm me. He was admitted to the hospital there. We were in Lansing at the time. And the attending came up to me and was very abrupt and angry towards me and was saying, your baby's in major heart failure and we don't know if we can save him. And I was fighting back tears and trying to take in everything that was happening. And I was there by myself with Keenan. And of course, at that point, I called my pastor, and my husband came from work. And the next doctor that we saw was a pediatric specialist, and that woman said to us, that he basically had been fighting for his life for the last 2 weeks, that they found that his aortic arch was narrow and actually pinched off at one point. There's shunts that stay open in the heart, in the womb, because the babies don't use their lungs. And so circulation just bypasses the lungs until they're born. And those shunts had stayed open and allowed him to basically survive those last few weeks. And she said, he's a fighter. And we said, yep, that's what his name means. So in the next few hours, they analyzed him and got him ready to be transferred the next morning to Mott Children's Hospital in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I remember, again, I was alone with him, and they finally let me hold him pretty late at night. And I was holding him and rocking him and feeding him, and just desperate for a word. So scary. not knowing if he would make it through the surgery, not knowing if he would even make it to the other hospital, how he would do in the transport, how he would do if he would make it through surgery, if he was going to have residual issues mentally, physically. What did this entail? What was going to happen with him? And I remember sitting there in the hospital room. They had given me a rocking chair, and I was holding him, and I turned on the TV, the TBN, the Trinity Broadcasting Network, and there on the TV was Jan Crouch with her big blue hair and her very striking makeup, which was really her signature. And she was reading Psalm 91. And I was just in tears listening to her as she read that psalm, thinking about the significance of that in light of our little baby being named Keenan and having that be his psalm. And she gets to the last part and she stops and she says, and I particularly like this last part. I will satisfy him with a long life and show him my salvation. I was just rejoicing when she read that and just felt like God was giving me a word that Keenan was going to be fine, that he was going to have a long life. And the second part of that scripture ended up coming into play again in Keenan's life much later as he had struggles as he reached teenagehood and adulthood. We'll talk about that later at another time. He will probably be on the podcast to talk about that himself, about how God moved in his life. But if you are in a hard situation today and needing a word from God, desperate for a word, as I was sitting there in that hospital room by myself, looking over my little infant, hooked up to all kinds of wires and tubes, and just begging God, just crying out for a word of comfort, a word of wisdom, a word of assurance, a word of assurance. I just want to let you know today that He's got you. He's got what you're dealing with. He knows all the ins and outs. He knows every detail of what's happened. He knows every detail of what needs to happen. He is now working, just like He was working for me, just like He was putting things in line for me regarding that day and that surgery and my son's illness. He's there with you. He's not forsaken you. He has not forgotten you, and He is not ignorant of what's happening with you. There's a story in the scriptures that I like to think about when I'm gone through things and have struggled. I think about the story of Lazarus. I think about Mary and Martha, and how Mary, when Jesus finally shows up to town, their brother was sick and they had called Jesus and He didn't come right away. He delayed, and then their brother died. And Jesus finally comes to town, and Martha runs out and she's, Lord, if you had been here, my brother wouldn't have died. And as he's talking to Martha, He then says to her, go get Mary. And it's always interesting to me, why didn't Mary come out? I think she was ticked off. I think she was really upset with Jesus. Come on, Jesus. Like, you could have healed him, but now he's dead. You missed your opportunity. Like, why weren't you here for me? Why weren't you moving in the way that we know that you can? And there have been times in my life where I felt the exact same way. I just felt like, where are you? Why aren't you moving? And Jesus sends Martha to say to Mary that He wants to talk to her. And her words are, the teacher is near and He is asking for you. Those words are for you today. The teacher is near. Jesus is near, and He's asking for you. He's calling for you. when Mary finally gets to Jesus, Jesus is moved to tears by her grief, by her just disillusionment of why Jesus didn't show up. So as Jesus is calling you near, I want you to know that he is moved by your grief. He's moved by your tears. He is moved with compassion over what you're going through. And he's not distant. He's not holding you at arm's length. He is near, and he is asking for you to come to him. He wants to comfort you. He wants to encourage you. He wants to lift you up. So today, open your arms to him. Go to him. The Lord draws near to those who draw near to him, and that is a promise. Reach out to him today and know that he loves you. He has your best interest in mind. And although you may not understand what you're going through and the why of everything, he promises to walk with you through it. Lean into the hard of this moment. Lean into the hard of this time and take it to Jesus. Lean into him, and he will be there for you. Be blessed. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please subscribe and share this podcast with your friends. The more that we get the word out, the more we can spread that joy and make a difference in our world. Thanks for joining in. Today's episode was sponsored by Solar Grids Grand Rapids. If you are looking for solar grids to be placed on your home or business to save yourself some money, you can find information about that at solargridsgrandrapids.com. They service the greater Grand Rapids area and the entire U.S., so go ahead, reach out to them today.